All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the great Floyd Mayweather Jr. and him wanting to sign the new up-and-coming welterweight future superstar, currently excellent fighter, Jaron Boots Ennis, out of the great city of Philadelphia. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, fight fans, we back at you. Welcome to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we are going to talk about the welterweight division and two of the best fighters, two of the best young prospects I've ever seen in the sport of boxing, and that is Floyd Mayweather Jr., who obviously is no longer a prospect, and Jaron Boots Ennis, who is currently I think it's safe to call him a contender at this point in time, the 147-pound IBF mandatory challenger for Errol Spence Jr. And some comments that are attributed to Floyd Mayweather Jr. about Jaron Ennis, and you knew this was coming, but seriously, incredible compliments coming from this, coming through these comments that I'm gonna share with you. Before I get into that though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a longtime subscriber to the channel, thank you so much for your support. It's impossible for me to express the amount of gratitude I have for you guys just to coming on a consistent basis and listening to the videos, chopping it up with me about boxing, even though we sometimes we won't agree. Also, make sure you guys, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos, which we do on a daily basis. All right, so Leonard Ellerbe, who was the president or the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, was at a public workout for Rolly Romero, who will be fighting Gervonta Tank Davis the Saturday after next for a WBA mandatory title defense. Excuse me, mandatory title defense of his WBA regular title. Why you've got to do a mandatory for a secondary belt and not the primary, we will not talk about inside this in this video. However, suffice it to say that that is a little bit irritating. However, this fight is going to be taking place, and there was a public workout for it. Rolly Romero looking huge, not going to make a difference, I don't think, in the fight. But in the midst of these conversations, Leonard Ellerbe was asked a lot of different questions. One of them was about Jaron Boots Ennis. Now, if you're not familiar with Jaron Boots Ennis is, come on, get to planet Earth. This dude is one of the hottest prospects in boxing, new up-and-coming contenders in boxing. Just got done demolishing Custio Clayton on the undercard of Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castano. Man, I've been talking about this guy for several years, and now it seems like the boxing world is really catching up with it. Did excellent numbers, by the way, in the fight that he had with Custio Clayton on Showtime. Like over 400,000 viewers watched his preliminary fight, right? So everything is looking good for him. The Mayweather Promotions CEO, Leonard Ellerbe, sorry, I got tongue twisted, said that he had talked about this particular fighter, Jaron Ennis, with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and that Floyd Mayweather Jr. just went overboard about him, called him on the phone, was like, man, who is this kid? This kid can fight his tail off. Man, this dude looks like this, that, and the other thing. Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s got tremendously excited about Jaron Ennis, seeing him fight. Not sure which fight it was where he saw him. It could have been this fight, could have been the last fight with Sergey Lipinets, or the fight, with Thomas Delorme, or could have been the fight with Sergey Lipinets, could have been the fight before that took place with, man, what is the guy's name? Always for the South African fight, the South African fighter, Chris Van Heerden. But anyway, Floyd, it was like, no, this is the type of dude that Mayweather Jr., that Mayweather Promotions wants to fight, wants to sign. He could be a great star if we could get him to Mayweather Promotions. Now, as far as him actually signing with Mayweather Promotions, Jaron Ennis, I would not want that to be the case, not because I don't think that Floyd Mayweather could do a great job with him and get him a lot of star status, He could, because if Jaron Ennis is walking around with Floyd, Floyd is doing, doing what he did with Gervonta. Those guys really did grow Gervonta Davis into a guy that was selling out arenas. So, I mean, no matter what happens with Gervonta Davis re-signing with Floyd or not re-signing with Floyd, you cannot deny that what they did with Gervonta Davis. But the reason why I would be like, man, please no, is because Jaron Ennis already had his career held up for it seemed like a couple years, but it was a while that his progress got slowed down because he had already been in a promotional dispute with Cameron Duncan and a guy that was his earlier promoter. I don't remember all of the details to that particular circumstance, but from what I recall, it was a situation where Cameron Duncan was still a manager and it was the original guy to originally signed Jaron Ennis to a managerial contract, and then but was actually acting as the promoter for Jaron Ennis. But there was a secondary promoter that was involved that was the promoter of name. And then once Cameron Duncan became clear to promote, because you can't be a manager and promoter at the same time, that's a violation of the Ali Act, that Cameron Duncan then sought to take over the promotional duties for Jaron Ennis. And then there was a lawsuit around that. It wound up, I do believe, falling in the favor of being, determined in the favor of Cameron Duncan, and Jaron Ennis was able to get out of the promotional contract. However, it did hold up him getting fights for a while. And actually, when he started really getting another push again on Showtime, those guys were still in the contractual dispute, but the two parties agreed not to have their dispute hold up Jaron's career any further. So, already having a promoter in Cameron Duncan, I'm sure that Cameron Duncan is not just gonna roll over and lay down and let Floyd Mayweather Jr. have his fighter. So if he was even, they even started moving in that direction, all that's really gonna do is hold up Jaron Ennis's career, from where it's going. However, I will say though that having a big name and a big reputation among boxing fans as being an excellent fighter does not always transition into being somebody that is really doing well in the box office. I don't think, when Floyd says that he believes he's somebody that can make Jaron Ennis a star, that should not be taken lightly, because he did that with Gervonta Davis, and that is not something that Bob Arum was able to do with a terrific fighter like Terrence Crawford. When he was being promoted by Terrence Crawford, there's other, for example, Devin Haney did a terrific job of promoting himself on the internet. And on, I shouldn't say on the internet, I should say on different social media sites, because everybody's getting promoted on the internet now. On different social media sites, did a good job, but that did not translate into him actually putting butts in the seat in arenas. And that's something Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Leonard Ellerbe have been able to do with Gervonta Davis, which should not be understated or underestimated. Now, Jaron Ennis, being from Philadelphia, being from that East Coast area, should be able to develop that type of fan base, and I certainly hope that he does. Right now, there are guys that have been able to do that without Floyd, like Errol Spence Jr., right? Errol Spence Jr., but even Errol Spence Jr. early on in his career did have that connection to Floyd, which got his name out there and got his reputation heightened. So, in whatever way that Jaron could be associated with Floyd would probably be good for his career, because very, 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 very few human beings have better name recognition than Floyd Mayweather Jr., and having him vouch for you, basically legions of people that still pay attention to what he's doing, cannot do anything but help his career. But anyway, that's my take on the situation. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.